how's Dubai?
Oh, mate, banging. Like, winter sun is just the best. Last year we went to Mexico for Christmas. Was that last year or year before? Maybe the year before. But like, winter sun is just so good. Like, you just feel, it's just weird. It's like leaving here at like 3 degrees, all wrapped up, and then arriving there at like 25. And it's like, oh, and you have like one day and you're like, that's it now, I'm in summer mode. And you can't even remember what it's like to be cold at home.
Yeah.
So yeah, lush. Just literally like nice hotel in Dubai, lush food, beach and pool every day, a little bit of shopping, and then just chilling with Maxon and Saf.
Nice.
Just lush. Just like didn't do much, just read, sunbathed, and played with Maxon. It was class.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, nice, man. Good.
So,
Needed it.
Yeah, nice little reset.
Yeah, you look bronze.
Thanks, mate. I tried.
Nice, colourful glow. What? Where did you say?
Al Habator, which is like JBR, which is like on like their beach, like just off the Palm. So we stayed on the Palm when we went there for our honeymoon. Then we stayed just off the Palm this time because there's loads of like shops and restaurants like on JBR, and it's just like amazing there. You can just fill your boots and just eat.
That's your second time going back.
Yeah.
That's mad because I've heard so many things about Dubai. Some people have told me, I'd never go there again because it's quite soulless and all that stuff.
Yes.
And this is like your second time going back.
Yeah,
What
I said the same. So at first I was like, I've seen Dubai now. It's so like superficial and temporary that once you've sort of like seen it, done it, appreciate the sort of like man-made materialism that is Dubai, you're sort of like, okay, it's cool. It's like the future. Like it is like the future there. But like, because Maxon's only 4 months old, it's like, what do I want if I'm going to take a 4-month-old away? You want like safety, you want cleanliness, you want a bit of like service. And Dubai just like has that in abundance. The hotels are bougie as, the service is like you wouldn't believe. Everyone can't do enough for you. It's mad. It's almost like your royalty. It's crazy. The food is just like unreal. And they've got loads of Westernized foods as well as loads of like Lebanese, Turkish, Kurdistan foods. Like
my favorite.
I know, incredible. And then it was like 25, 26 degrees every day. And like the beaches are banging and super spacious. And because of Dubai is so like, bougie and it's all about service and comfort and like basically just like 6 stars. Like we'd go to the beach and this guy would like run over and be like, oh, let me help you with your son. And he'd like pick up Maxon's like pushchair with me, put it down. He'd give us like 2 towels each for our sunbed. He put like 3 towels down for Maxon, who had like the double bed, like the 4-coaster double bed thing with the sheets that go around it to cover him from the sun. We just had this like huge spot. He's like, I'll bring you over some drinks now. Do you want anything else? And I was just like, Jesus, mate.
You're not getting that Bang Island.
What else are you going to give me? Where does this service go?
Yeah. Was that included in your hotel stuff then?
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Yeah, it was wild. Honestly, it was wild.
Yeah, Sophie's with no man when you were out there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she loved it. She wants to go back.
Yeah, the Middle East is really cool.
Honestly,
I've heard loads about like Saudi, Abu Dhabi,
Same.
like Kuwait, like all those places now are starting to be more attractive, like tourism places,
Yeah.
And their hotels and service is just like, it's real good.
And they've got places for expats as well.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah, there's like
little
areas for them.
Yeah, I think that's amazing.
So cool.
Yeah. I can definitely see it being a place where people go travel to more and
yeah. I don't think I could live out there. Like, I think if I was like single and I had like a business or I was just working really hard, I'd go there and just like work real hard, take advantage of like their tax schemes and just work basically. But to like have a family there and stuff, I find it tough. I was speaking to my mate Tom. So one of my like old clients works in Dubai. So I met up with him and trained. And he lived in Kuwait for a while and then he moved to Dubai. And now he was saying like how amazing it is and stuff. But I feel like the stuff that he values now is like way different to the stuff that we get here. And that is like a huge culture shock for like to live permanently in. You sort of live permanently in that bougie lifestyle. And I feel like I would just like lose myself a little bit.
Yeah, I think so as well. Yeah, I think I've definitely, as I've gotten older, I don't know if you've felt this, but I've gone so less materialistic.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at the state of it.
Yeah,
I need new
shocking.
clothes, but I just. What do you mean it's shocking?
Oh, mate, I don't know whether that's discoloured green because of how old it is, or whether that's
Both.
the actual colour.
Both. It's meant to be light green, but it's definitely got discoloured as time has gone on.
Yeah.
But I just don't like, and I'm trying to make more of an effort to buy new clothes. But it's that point where I used to be obsessed with cars. And like now, I'm like,
You don't have one.
I share one with my partner, and I'm literally thinking in my head, how shit of a car could I get to still get me around
Yeah.
and just pay little towards?
I reckon you could get a car, right, for like 750 quid, like 100 grand, right? Like a Nissan Micra, a busy stuff. A Nissan Micra is awful. And like,
Disgusting.
shocking,
car.
I know. But like, no aircon, no radio,
Power
just
steering.
no power steering, like a choke start. And literally just a seat, a steering wheel, and gears. That's all you've got.
Yeah.
You got 3 grand, mate.
I think you could as well.
All right. Put your money where your mouth is then.
Yeah.
If you really don't care about materialism.
Soph wouldn't though.
Yeah, but it's not. Sophie can have the car that you share. You just have this for you. This is your runaround.
I'd rather just get like a nicer car, but shitter, as in less monthly payments. You know what I mean?
What's wrong with the £1,000 runaround?
I think that's a bit too shit.
But why are you going up with you? That's materialistic.
Yeah, no, but I'm thinking of going down from where I am now, but not to the point where if something
Rock
crashes,
bottom.
yeah, not if something crashes into me, I crumble and die. Do you know? I still want to live.
Yeah,
John.
fair.
So
Okay.
that was my thinking towards
Good
that.
safety.
Right, should we start with the old confession?
Oh yeah,
suck?
I literally forgot about that.
Yeah, go on. You do it this week. I hope it's one of yours because I've done 3 on the week, 3 on the bounce, I think.
Well, 2 theoretically because we lost the podcast, unfortunately, guys.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. So, cut a long story short, I'm doing a little cut at the moment. I woke up on, I think, last Saturday, took a photo of myself, and the camera just died. Obviously, didn't like what it saw in the mirror, so the camera died. Sorry, that my phone died.
Yeah.
And it's I lost the podcast. So really
It's
sorry
all good.
about that. Oh, fucking me again.
I know, sorry, mate.
All right. So yeah, this one's goes back to 2015, I think. So at the time, I've touched on this topic before in the previous podcast, but I'll say it again for people who haven't seen it. I was in my kind of delusional part of my fitness journey where I was following the wrong people, reading men's health magazines. Like there was, do you remember like Kirk Miller, guys like Kirk Miller, Luke Haslett?
Yeah, like names ring a bell. Couldn't put a face to them, but I remember those names kicking around.
So they were maxi muscle fitness models basically, and they were in incredible shape. And I was quite naive at the time, where I think they must have been dabbling with gear because these guys were just constantly in great condition. It may have just been really good genetics. I don't know, but I was following these guys, and basically, in these men's health magazines, they were writing down their diets, basically, like what I eat on a day-to-day basis. And it was like so many supplements like spirulina, manuka honey, and all these spices, and a list of like porridge at a certain time. And I was literally reading this stuff thinking, okay, so they're having that porridge at that time because it must do something to their insulin. And almost like the articles that I was reading was kind of alluding to that. Little did I know that it wasn't actually these guys that were writing this part. It was the editors in Men's Health magazine. And what is their goal, the editors and the writers, is to sell more copies, right? So it's almost like they were trying to confuse me by writing this stuff so I'd fail and then have to go back and buy more Men's Health magazines. That's almost like, it probably wasn't, but that's, when I look back now, I think, oh, was there an element to that to it? But cut long story short, I was doing all these delusional things. And what happened was I was in this cycle of like losing a bit of fat and then putting it back on. And I was always like, why do I keep putting it back on? And little did I know at the time, but I was eating really well Monday to Friday. I was going to primary schools with my Tupperware, prepping all my meals. All the teachers were coming and going, oh, Dan, fair play, you're so dedicated. And I was there eating it like, yeah, I'm so dedicated. And Friday would come and I would literally finish school and I'd be straight to the bakery that was outside the school, picking up a Cornish pasty, finish that as I was driving, and I'd stop in McDonald's. I'd get a McDonald's, this is no word of a lie. And I'd get home, I'd walk to Tesco, I'd get a Ben and Jerry's, and I'd smash that. So I was eating really well Monday to Thursday. Then on the Friday, because I was so restrictive, like literally eating mackerel and broccoli for breakfast, it got to that point, it was that extreme. God. And by Friday, all this food that I'd kind of been saying no to, I can't, because that will make me fat. By Friday, it was a free-for-all. And then it would run into Saturday, and then Sunday I'd wake up, I'd feel really guilty, I'd go to the gym, burn 1,000 calories worth of doing cardio, and that cycle just rinsed and repeated itself. And the binges just got worse and worse and worse as the weeks went on, to the point where, and this is where the confession comes in, there was a time when I was working in primary schools at this time, and there was the teachers that I was working with kept chocolate in his drawers for the kids. So if the kids did something well, like at the end of the week, if they'd had a really good week, he'd reward them with chocolate, basically.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I was sneaking into those drawers in the middle of the week because I was craving so much sugar and chocolate.
Oh my
I was
God.
stealing the kids' chocolate and eating them and not replenishing them back. Just like literally just almost in denial I was doing it, but always going back to it and just binge eating.
That's mad.
It got that bad. And then I got to a point where I don't think I was depressed. I think that's the wrong word, but I got to the point where I was like, this is so bad. It was like I had such control over my life.
Yeah.
And that's when I reached out for help, and I got a therapist basically to help me with that. And he said, yeah, you've got an eating disorder. It's called orthorexia nervosa, which is an unhealthy obsession with eating healthy food.
Yeah, it's mental.
It's mental. I was just like consumed by the whole sugar's really bad for you.
Yeah.
Chocolate's really bad for you. You should never eat it. And I was like, that was my worldview. Didn't question it. Just went on with it because that's what I was reading. That was the information that I was exposed to.
Yeah.
And it got me into a pretty dark place. Like I was like getting really frustrated. I'm not sure if I was crying a few times because I didn't have control of my diet. Like I wanted to be strict, and I was like, I'm not strict. I can't be strict like these guys. I'm never going to get in shape.
Yeah.
And just really took a hold of my life.
Yeah, that's mad.
So that's why now when I see people take things to the extreme, I'm like,
yeah,
like, you know,
it can become really unhealthy and
become
controlling and
yes,
completely like mess with your psyche, like day to day,
fuck
you know.
you up.
Yeah.
Really fuck you up. Like that Brian Johnson guy. Have you seen that Brian Johnson guy?
Live
the guy,
forever.
Mr. Live Forever. He
Yeah.
knows he's not going to live forever. That's
Yeah.
the messaging that he's done with it, which I think is quite clever. But people are going to jump on that bandwagon, and I can just see the same cycle happening again.
Yeah.
Eddie Boo is another one. Like I really like these guys' message. I think it's great that we are striving to eat healthier, live healthier lifestyles. But I think there's a point where if someone is naive like I was back in the day, they're going to take all of that information as face value,
Yeah.
and then get themselves into a rut because they are going to crave maybe a little bit of chocolate on the weekend, or they're going to have a social occasion like a birthday or a wedding, and they're going to be going to the wedding or the social occasion with their Tupperware boxes, you know, eating like a recluse while everyone else is enjoying a meal. And it's like, no, that's really not healthy. That's that's deprivation. That's almost, this is such a bad mindset to be in.
Another thing that really pisses me off with all that, right, is when you speak about like that side of the coin being like all in and it's like overly consuming to the point where it's become really unhealthy with your psyche, versus then people that are like, me and Saf were talking about this the other day, people that basically try and just do the 1% and they don't do like the 90%, you know, like
that was me.
Yeah, it is so frustrating. There's some people were saying to me about how they do this. They're doing like this like smoothie detox thing, and they'll do like the athlete greens and get like subscription and jump on that. Yeah, like their general diet is like appalling. It's just like Greg's for lunch and just like a load of fast foods, and they justify like they can get away with that providing they do like athlete greens and stuff like that. And I'm gonna do this like this detox and all this sort of shit. And I'm like, bro, you're literally concentrating on the like 1%. So you're not concentrating on like the big rocks or actually like make a difference to what you're trying to do. Is for me that's like the most infuriating thing, because like the big rocks are like things that you can have a sustainable like plan. It's like what we offer here with Tommy doing all that nutrition. It's like basically like diets that are sustainable to achieve your goals in the quickest rate possible, but sustainably. So you can build it into your habits, build it into your life, and then you don't get into the sort of unhealthy obsessions, or you don't get into just wanting to go to the 1%. It's the same with people that talk about gear. You're like, why would you take gear? You're like, you're fucking morbidly obese. You train like twice a week like shit. And then you want to jump on gear, which is going to like literally tank your health markers because all of the other sort of non-negotiables are just up in the air. You're not doing them. Like, sort out the things that are going to actually make a difference first, get some balance, and then start looking to the sort of like 1%. It really pisses me off. I think I have sucker for like marketing, sucker for the sales, which is really fucking infuriating as well, because like
one fad to the next.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just like, Jesus Christ, get a hold of yourself.
Yeah.
But let's segue that into like what you're doing now then, right? So you talk about your unhealthy relationship with food there, but now you're doing this like really aggressive cut where you're like losing quite a lot of fat quite quickly.
Yeah.
Which some could argue say could become another unhealthy obsession. So tell me how you're managing that now, this aggressive cut, without it getting so out of control.
And that's a really good question, because years ago, if I would have gone down this route that I'm doing now, which is, I'll just give you some context. So I'm basically losing 10 kilograms, and my aim is to lose 10 kilograms in 60 days without counting a calorie, without obsessively logging my steps, and just not being a slave to meal prepping.
Sick.
Because I've had clients before in the past who have managed to do the same, and I was like, I've never actually done this myself.
Yeah,
So
and also those things are the obstacles for people to put them off,
yes,
like getting into the
I
nutrition.
want
You
to
know?
prove to people that this whole fitness thing, I think some people have just got it so mixed up where they think they've got these misconceptions that I have to do cardio to lose fat. I have to prep every meal to lose fat. I can't eat out with my family. I have to cook separate meals to my wife and my kids. So while they're enjoying a normal meal, I'm there slaving away after work, after working for however many hours a day, putting in the graft then in the kitchen. It's like, who are you following, and what information have you seen that's made you believe that this is the way and the only way? There's so many ways to skin a cat when it comes to losing fat, building muscle, even getting stronger. And it's about, in essence, you still have to put the work in, but you can make it so much easier for yourself by going against conventional fitness advice. So that's why I'm almost showing my journey, is to show people that it is possible. So that's one of the reasons why I'm doing it. But going back to what you said earlier about how I'm being a bit more aggressive with this approach now, and that's because I'm in such good headspace now. I'm a big fan of some of my clients, depending on where they're coming from, and by that I mean what they've tried in the past to lose fat, what their history is with diets, what their mindset is like around food. For them, most of the time, they will need a more sustainable approach. Losing fat in a sensible manner, aiming for 0.5 to 1% of the total body weight per week. That's a really realistic target for most people. But then other clients will come to me, and I know that they've got a sporting background. They were, maybe athletes when they were younger. They've been exposed to high stress environments before, so they can handle a lot more stress than other people like who've never dabbled in sports and fitness before. So with those people who are in a much better headspace, you can push the boat out a little bit more. You can be a little bit more aggressive, and it's almost like they're less emotional. Like we spoke in the podcast before about what these high-end people have compared to other people, don't have compared to other people, is they're a lot less emotional around things.
Yeah.
Like I had a client this morning come to me, he said, "Oh, Dan, I'm really frustrated. I've been cutting for this week 4 days and my weight hasn't dropped." I was like, whoa, what, do you expect your weight to drop every single week? Like, that's not how it works, But those kind of people, and the other types of people, is finding what works for that individual based on their psyche, essentially.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm trying out this experiment now. But yeah, it's because I'm in such a good place now with my head. I can do these. I wouldn't even say it's more of an extreme approach. It's less extreme than what I was doing before.
Yeah.
But the rate of fat loss is fast because of the systems that I've got in place, and I'm able to just handle the maybe slightly more hunger because I'm used to it. I fast quite often as well, which helps with it. So I'm used to feeling a little bit hungry from time to time.
Yeah.
Someone else, this would be a lot harder, So
you're not tracking steps, you're not tracking calories, you're not prepping meals,
not prepping meals.
and then what's the other thing, or is it just those three things?
I'm having a Sunday roast every Sunday.
Sunday roast every Sunday, right? Cool.
Yeah.
So those are the things that you're sort of not doing and doing, right? So what strategies or what are you actually doing that's allowing you to like lose this fat? What can you tell like the viewers, like how does it look for you, like sort of day to day?
So day to day it looks like, so I've used different systems with clients in the past, and for me, what works for me is I train in the mornings. So on the days that I train, I'll train fasted because I train really early. So the food that I've had the night before will feed my training essentially. So I don't need anything before I train. After I finish training, then I'll have a little smoothie, and then I'll work for however many hours. I'll have lunch. I'll have a snack between lunch and dinner. I'll have my dinner. I'll have a snack. That's it. Done. So that's what I'll do on a training day. On a non-training day, I'll fast up until lunchtime. I'll have my lunch. I'll have a snack. I'll have my dinner. I'll have a snack. So you'd be surprised how many people actually could get themselves in a deficit without counting calories. That's what I'm trying to do. And a lot of the time, you look at what the average household cooks. Their dinner is usually quite healthy. Their partner and them or whoever cooks in the household will cook a generally healthy dinner. It's what they do before that then. So I like to look at what they do for dinner, generally a healthy meal, and then work backwards from that.
Yeah.
And a lot of my clients that I've worked in the past, it's almost like after dinner, that's when, so this is an example, after dinner is when their diet falls apart. So they'll have their dinner and then they'll have toast after dinner, or they'll have a big bowl of cereal, or they'll snack after it. So it's going, okay, why is that happening? Why does that keep on happening? Well, let's have a look at the size of your dinner. Are you having enough for dinner? Because generally, if you're having enough for dinner, then you probably won't feel the need to have to snack after it. And if you look at the size of their portions for dinner, it's like, you're not having much.
Yeah.
Like, you've worked really hard in the day. You're coming home, you're having a little small meal that's not filling you up, but that's why you're snacking. It's got nothing to do with the fact that you're not disciplined enough, or that you're mentally weak, or that you haven't got enough willpower. It's just that you're just not eating enough, and that's why you're snacking. So I went a bit off tangent with that, but that's what I'm doing in the sense of calorie tracking. And then my walks, at the start, what I was doing, not tracking steps. I haven't got an activity watch or a tracker or whatever, but I'd be going for two walks a day. One in the morning after I trained, or on a non-training day, just in the morning, and then one after dinner or before dinner. But now I'm having to extend that second walk to make it a bit longer, because that's what you have to do. If you lose, the mistake a lot of men make is they lose the first 5 kilograms, and then they think that what they've been doing to lose that initial first 5 kilograms is what's going to help them lose the next 5 kilograms. But it's not. You have to change things up to keep progressing. And that's the cycle that so many men get stuck into. And that's why they keep losing the same 5 kilograms over and over again. It's like my favorite quote, Albert Einstein: insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
Yeah.
And it's so true. And it's the same with most things.
Yeah. And what point are you at now? Like, how long have you been doing it for? How much have you lost?
I think I'm on either day 32 or 34 today.
So halfway through?
Halfway through, yeah. So 5.2 kg down.
Nice, on track.
With a target of 10 kilograms in 60 days.
Unreal.
Yeah, so it's good. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that people watching this and have seen my stories and the journey, I'm really hoping that they're going to see that conventional fitness advice is just so outdated.
Yeah.
And so wrong.
Yeah.
You don't have to be extreme. You don't have to go down these routes and these measures and whatnot.
Yeah, nice.
So it's cool. It's good. So I've noticed a little trend, and I wanted to pick your brains on something. And what I've noticed is, and again, this goes back to, it's almost like I had this thought after we just did the last week's podcast, the one before, where we talked about programming, how we program. And a trend that I see a lot of, especially again, maybe going back to the younger lifters, is they're always lifting 1 to 3 reps. When I'm seeing them, always like on Instagram, 3 reps, 2 reps today, 180 kg. And bear in mind, whoever I'm seeing, they haven't really got competitions coming in a long time, but they're doing these singles and doubles. Whereas I know you and me have got competitions on the horizon. We've been going through 12 reps, 8 reps, 6 reps. And I wanted to know, like, why are these people doing these low reps when ultimately, should they be doing higher reps when there's a competition well in the horizon?
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's definitely like a trend now. So there's 2 things. One is like a way you can using a top set, which is 1 to 3 reps at an RP around about 8, and then that calculates an estimated 1 RM, and then that estimated 1 RM is then used to work volume off of. So say you did like a heavy single at an 8 RP and it worked out to be like 100 kilos. That then would be put into an estimated 1 RM calculator, and just say that 100 kilos then was like 105 kilos. It's an estimated 1 RM. You would then work a percentage off of that and then do your volume work underneath it. Okay. So 1 by 1 at 8 RP.
So let's say I went in there now and I wanted to work out my 1 rep max.
Yeah.
I went in there and you said, Dan, load the bar up with 100 kg. And I did 2 reps of that?
Yeah, so 2 reps. And if it was like an 8 RP,
an 8 RP being, I finished a rep and I'm like, shit, I think I could have only got 2 more reps out.
Exactly.
Okay.
So like you do it for a double, but you could have done 4 if you maxed out.
Yeah.
And that gets put into a calculator and it gives you an estimated 1 RM. Say that 1 RM spat out 105 kilos. Then you do like 75% of that 105 kilos for 5 sets of 5.
Okay.
So what it's doing is giving you an indicator set to indicate your daily readiness. So then the percentage that you're working off is relevant to your position on that day. So that's like RP in a nutshell. So that's how like proper RP programming, I say proper RP, because that's what how it got sort of pumped into our space, into the power space bit. Mike Teixeira, pumped into the space using these indicators to understand that we are not like sort of same readiness every single day. So he uses an indicator set to establish that readiness and then works volume off of that. So that's
so by that, do you mean you're going to turn up to the gym some days and you're going to feel really good and you're going to feel really strong?
Exactly.
And other days you're going to come in and you're going to feel shit.
Exactly.
Okay.
So if say you had like a hard day in work, shit night's sleep, you're probably not going to be as strong. Whereas if you had amazing night's sleep, work's being really chill, you feel really aroused, then you can be like, okay, fine, like I'm a little bit stronger. So those numbers would change, the estimated 1RM would change, and then you're doing volume based off that readiness, right? So that's like a good way of sort of building the RPE system into your programming. Now, I think a lot of people have sort of got that slightly mixed, and now they're sort of doing it as just like their main work all the time. And then the buzzword that always comes out from that is like, oh, well, it's specific. It's specificity. I'm a powerlifter. I need to be doing singles, doubles, triples. And like that way of thinking is like specificity to the sport, in opposed to like how I see it, which is like specificity to the task. And when you've got competitions coming up and you're in transition and peaking blocks, say like less than 10 weeks out, yeah, specificity to the sport is going to be the most important thing, because the sport is really close. So you need to be practicing the conditions of the sport. You need to be getting your body primed to the percentages and the loads that you're going to be handling when you do the competition. But outside of that sort of 10 weeks, outside of that, you're pretty much in building phases. Like sort of more than 10 weeks out, you're like building strength or building muscle or building certain qualities for the individual to allow them to express more strength when it needs to.
So less technique stuff,
like technical stuff, hypertrophy, building like work capacity, just overall foundations, just like all of the sort of fitness qualities that you need to be able to like handle more weight essentially. And then less than 10 weeks out, you don't really build strength in that sort of time frame. Sort of like 8 weeks to the competition. So 8 weeks out to the competition, the volumes are going to be lower, the intensities are going to be higher. You're not really doing enough sort of like volume to elicit like strength adaptations. You're pretty much just practicing at that point. It's all about expression of strength. So what people tend to do is just be so hyper focused and hyper fixated on expressing strength that like that sort of mindset starts to filter across their microcycle. And then from like sort of like 20, 16, 20, 25 weeks out, wherever, they're still working within this expressing of strength. They almost like need to sort of showcase their strength to prove to themselves that they're still strong enough to do their thing. Whereas like that specificity thing now is like should be less catered to the sport and more catered to the task. At 20 weeks out, what do you really need to be doing? And a lot of it will be like catered to a bit of on the individual. If you're further out for a competition, maybe you need to like drop a little bit of weight. So you're going to be like in your weight class a little bit more. So maybe you're in a calorie deficit. Maybe you're doing sort of higher volumes to facilitate the calorie deficit goal. Maybe you're working on some like technical, nuance to your lifting that's going to allow you to be stronger when it's time to express it. Or maybe you're just trying to build muscle. Maybe you're trying to fill out a weight class, in which case then the goal should be, or the task, the sort of overarching goal then is like, I need to put muscle on my frame. So then the movements are going to be conducive to hypertrophy. You're probably going to be doing less competition bench press where you're like trying to reduce range of motion with this like big arch doing pauses. It's going to be less of that. And you're going to probably want to increase range of motion. You're probably going to be using more general exercises like dumbbells or machines to just sort of generally stimulate the muscles that are going to be responsible for handling the weights when you start to express. So I suppose like the sort of thing where you see people going like heavy 1 to 3 all the time is this sort of hyperfixated on specificity to the sport instead of specificity to the task, and working on like the training qualities they need to allow them to be stronger. So when it comes to expressing strength, they're going to be stronger, because powerlifting isn't like it isn't that skillful. Like, how many people can deadlift? Pretty much fucking anyone can sort of bend over and pick it up. We have the oldies that come down here. Jean's like 80, and we give her like we give her like 30 kilos, and she can pick it up off the floor. Do you know what I mean? And like she's like an untrained 80-year-old individual, right? So deadlifting is not that hard. Bench press, can you lie down, pull your shoulders back and down, touch the bar on your chest, lock it back out? That's like a more skillful movement, but again, it's really not that skillful. And a squat, really not that fucking hard. So this like, you don't need to be super fixated and practice the technique all the time, because if you can just work on the sort of biomechanical rules on controlling your hips, your torsos, your shoulders, whatever, for whatever movement, and do it in the movement and then do it generally on machines, it's going to be really easy to put it back into the main movement again. It doesn't require lots of frequency. It doesn't require lots of practice. you can just sort of do the movements a little bit more removed from the competition lifts, include it like sort of 15 weeks out, and get great results.
Something that you said there is really interesting, where you talked about, deadlifting, pulling something off the floor, not being hard, a squat not being that skillful, a bench press not being that skillful. And I think that I agree with that to a degree, but I think with how detailed I've seen you go with coaching. I remember when I first started training here, I'd gotten into a habit of letting my knees, opening my hips up too much, which was then a limiting factor because I've never been able to squat 200k, right? And I genuinely put a lot of that down to my technique. So is there a fine line between, say, like you said, I mean, most people can come into the gym and lift stuff, bench, squat, and deadlift, but in the sense then of getting really good at it, I think these little nuances that you've shown to me have been the difference of being able to today be not that strong to being like, oh, I'm hitting a goal now and I'm getting a lot stronger. So where does that line come into play?
Yeah, when I say it's really easy, I mean like the access to the movement's really
Right,
easy,
got you.
comparable to a golf swing.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I've been into commercial gyms and I look at people deadlifting and I'm like,
I
yeah,
know.
you're deadlifting, but you're deadlifting
Yeah.
really poorly.
Yeah. So like think of like, I think like a conventional deadlift versus like a golf swing, like the sort of technical exposures you need for those two. That's why golfers golf multiple times a day. Like, like they probably have like 5 sessions a day and do like thousands of reps of their golf swing. It's low fatigue inducing and it's very high skill. Deadlift, high fatigue inducing, low skill. So what I mean is really easy to do. I'm looking at it on like the sort of like sporting scale of access. Why weightlifters have a lot of exposures, double sessions, because there's a lot of moving parts. There's a dynamic movement. There's way more like technical and like physical qualities that go into it. Crazy, right? So when I say it's not that hard, it's based on the spectrum of other sporting qualities, right?
Got you.
Now, when I say it's not that hard, and what technique is really important, technique is like builds the whole foundation of my model. So like every decision I make in like teaching a person how to lift, cueing them, exercise selection, load, volume, accessory choices, all of that is based on how they move. I'm always moving people towards the gold standard because they're going to get bottlenecked by the way that they move. There's a technical flaw and they don't correct the technical flaw, they'll always be bottlenecked by their technique. So the way that we're trying to sort of problem solve it is like, what is the flaw? How can I unfuck this flaw? At what level do I need to like really like bolster it, and how can I scale it back into the main movement to ensure next time they max out they're stronger? So I feel like regardless of level, whether you're a beginner or an advanced lifter, you should be always working towards that gold standard, and like the sort of technical expression of that is gonna dictate rate of progress. So like I would say technique is the highest priority like for me when it comes to making decisions, because without having like a gold standard and without having someone work into a better movement pattern, you're literally just guessing.
Yeah. And I say this to my clients all the time. You always want to hold yourself to some kind of standard. Otherwise, like you said, you can be squatting, yeah, but you could be doing a quarter squat and not getting the most out of it, and you could be going full range of motion and getting probably a little bit more out of it. So
yeah,
I think you always have to hold yourself to some kind of standard. So that's good to see. Should we go into the question?
Sure, I've got 2-3 minutes.
2-3 minutes. All right, I'll ask you this one then. Why is it that people can't stick to stuff? Is there a correlation between people who don't stick to hobbies when they are children to those? Actually, let's go with the top one first. Why is it that people can't stick to stuff? And I'm assuming this is to do with diet and training.
I'll answer it from training, and then you can answer it with diet.
Yeah.
I think. Oh, I'd love more time to think about this. I always just think.
Well, okay, let's leave this, and we'll do this at the start of the next podcast.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, and that way, then we've hooked people in for the next podcast because they want to know the answers.
Yeah, there's the hook.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Cheers, man.
Thanks to the guys. By the way, we've had over 700 views for our last podcast,
Oh,
which is good. Yeah, so thanks guys for your support, and see you in
Trending.